This podcast is part of the Big Heads Media Podcast Network. Go to bigheadsmedia.com for more great podcasts.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the From the Back Tees podcast, a podcast from the Back Tees. I'm your co-host, Jerry Lou, and with me, as always, is my other co-host, Zach Pincer. ZP, how in the hell are you, buddy?
I'm doing pretty good. Was that a nod to the St. Louis Blues right there?
Little bit, and mostly because joining us here on the main line, in the three-way, however you want to call it, is our boy Tucker Dale Booth. Tucker, how you doing?
Blues Nation represent. Yeah. The world's worst theme song for our team. Woo! Love it. All my friends at the record label are like, we are the lamest city. We've picked the worst possible celebration song. We might as well have just done hot, hot, hot. Da-da-da. I mean, there is no worse song than Gloria to celebrate, but at least we love it when we get to play it. Thank you, Lord, that we won last game. That's for sure.
Yes, so are you a big hockey fan?
You know, I'm actually not, but everybody in St. Louis is, and it's really odd because I was telling you, Zach, the Rams, when they left St. Louis, tried to make this big stink about how sad they were, but I'm being extremely blunt here. They love the 5 Bs in St. Louis. Baseball, beer, blues hockey, bratwurst, and big-ass fat people. That's all anybody in St. Louis likes, man. The Rams were never going to make the cut. So I don't know how hockey has become a more popular sport than the NFL in St. Louis, but it surely is second place after the Cardinals. And so we always followed it. I met Brett Hull. Brett Hull's a man about town. He sure indeed drinks at Applebee's at noon. That is a fact. You know, he's a good guy. Everybody, the Gretzky era was fun. So, yeah, I mean, definitely when they're in the playoffs, I pay attention, but I don't watch much hockey during the year. I will say the fact that they were in last place in their division at midseason, and they're in the championships and tied 2-2 with the formidable Bruins, that's awesome. And we're playing Boston, the city St. Louis truly hates the most.
I hate those guys.
You know, as long as we beat Boston, it's all good, man.
There's so much hate for Boston. Poor Boston.
So much.
Boston's hurt every township in a different way more than once. I mean, that's why I always ask my Patriots friends, I'm like, hey, so you want another crack at the Giants? And a lot of them look at me and go, oh, hell no, bro. No, because they know they have the Patriots number maybe, and they couldn't have it be 3-0. 2-0 is bad enough. They couldn't have it be 3-0. 1-0 is a fluke. 2-0 is you're getting owned, and 3-0 is a pattern and or you're getting owned. So
every other city flinches when they hear they got to play Boston in any sport. I don't care if it's the Red Sox. I don't care if it's the Patriots, Bruins, whoever, man. But
it's kind of cool.
New York is the one city that cares. They want it, dude. They embrace the challenge. It's because they got a better city. Let's just face it.
You know what? I honestly could care either way. I mean, I'm as equal a fan as the people from each city or each city versus the other in any regard. I have I lived in Maryland, so I can tell you where I don't like. and between Boston and New York, I got some opinions about Maryland. Let me tell you about the East Coast. But honestly, I like the rivalry. I like everything that it provides. It could be Pittsburgh or Chicago or Helena, Montana that has like the same type of where it's like, oh no, they see you on the schedule or you have a lot of titles or whatever and you get that way. I'm cool with that. It could be anywhere. I'm just happy there is that entity. Like, we wouldn't have Star Wars if there weren't Darth Vader, if you think about it, so.
And they sure are the Death Star. That is a fact. Boston, you have officially received Darth Vader status to everyone else that's not from your city.
Warriors, then. So what are the Warriors?
They're getting close, man.
Real quick.
I love that we can hate on the Warriors on this show together, you guys. I really appreciate that because anybody from LA truly despises the northern part of California, especially the Bay Area. And especially Oakland, because I have friends from Oakland, you guys. They never cared a crap about basketball until the moment that these guys started doing well. They want to act like they were into Run TMC now. No, you weren't. They want to act like the Believe year with Baron Davis. You guys didn't even care until you beat the Mavericks in the first round. You didn't even watch till you beat the Mavericks. Don't lie. I have friends, they went on and on to me about how basketball was a second-rate sport that would never cut the mustard compared to NFL, compared to the Niners and the Raiders and whoever else. Now, all of a sudden, they're this huge basketball town. Get out of here. And they're not even going to stay in Oakland. They're going to go to San Fran and play in some overpriced arena next year for a bunch of billionaire fans that don't care. Oh, man,
can afford the
poser
tickets.
City. Posers.
Who can afford the tickets. It's more, that's the California culture. It's more about being seen at the Laker game than actually who wins the Laker game. It's unfortunate. I mean, that's why I'm a lackadaisical Laker fan. When they win, I'm in. When they're not, I'm watching hockey. I mean, that's pretty much how my life goes in basketball.
Just like we all are in LA, but at least we actually liked the Lakers before they started to do well. Everybody still was pulling for them when they were lousy. I mean, they weren't going to games, but at least we care. These people in Oakland, they never cared about the Warriors for 5 minutes until they won a championship, man. And that's a fact. You can thank Kyrie Irving and Kevin Love for getting hurt, you guys, the first time around. The only reason you won. You can thank the league and Kevin Durant and everyone else for ganging up so you could look like you actually did something worthwhile. But every one of them talked smack on LeBron because he was bandwagon. And then Kevin Durant jumps on their bandwagon and takes them to the rings. You guys are the most bandwagon of fans, I swear. And I really hope that the Raptors win. So you know how I feel.
Zach, I know you're Canadian, so don't give me any. You take that bias right out of your mouth right now and take it right out of your brainstem. I don't want to hear any bias, but fair is fair. I appreciate the spirit of Canada in this or whatever. But do you feel that way about the Warriors? Honestly, I mean,
so actually, I never really liked the Raptors. To be honest,
who has?
Honestly, I would have rather seen like Milwaukee make it. And as Nolan knows, I'm now a Portland Trail Blazers fan. Go Blazers.
Oh, bravo. Good for you.
Because I need some team. But I am rooting for the Raptors because I hate the Warriors so much.
I get that. I actually heard at some interview with somebody who was talking about how his son said how he's like, well, I want Toronto to win, but Dad, they're not an American team. And it was just like, not to say like that's not a bad thing if a non-American team wins the NBA championship or whatever, but it is kind of fun being like, hey, the trophy is in our country here. It's not, it's up in their borders or whatever. Because how many NHL teams are there in Canada? I mean, I'm just spitballing. 6, 8. Yeah, there's not. Oh my God, I almost said plenty. There's one in Winnipeg, for crying out loud. Okay, you guys have like proper representation, say for the Yukon. So, I mean, it's really. To hear that there's only one team in basketball, and remember what I tweeted when I said how it's just like, half those people think the Grizzlies still play in Vancouver. I mean, it's just like, come on, it's like back in the Damon Stoudemire days. I mean, Jesus, no wonder you got busted for pot in Portland. It was really legal in Canada way back in the day, if you think about it, or easier to get. So,
I think one last thought about the whole Warriors dynasty or whatever people want to frame this as. Whenever people get on me, like the kids I coach kids basketball here in Redondo, Coach, man, why are you so down on the Warriors, man? I mean, they're awesome, Steph Curry and Klay Thompson and Kevin Durant, they're like some of the greatest players in the world, Coach. How are you going to be so cruel? And I'll tell you why, guys. This is the basketball coach in me. Even though they surely have 5 or so of the greatest shooters in the NBA currently, and at least a couple of the greatest shooters in the NBA all time. I'd say Steph and Klay and Durant are surely some of the top shooters ever in the NBA. It doesn't matter because they don't play basketball the way a coach would want a team to play. You're ruining the game, not just for the NBA because they all emulate you and you dare them to play your game of jacking up 43s a game, but you make all these kids think that this is the way that they should play. Every child in the league that I coach in now is bombing 3-pointers like they have any business doing this because their hero Steph does it. Dude, every missed 3, which is the lowest percentage shot you can shoot, starts a fast break going the other way. It's a long rebound off the rim. You start a fast break. You set the other team up for success by doing this. And whether your guys can shoot in the high 40 percentages, and the best three-point shooter on their team, Steph, shoots 49%, guys. That's not even 50% of his shots he hits from this distance.
Oh, boo-hoo.
It is not a high percentage shot. there's no way you can tell me that just because you guys can pull this off, that this is good for basketball. It may be fun to watch a guy hit a 50-foot shot. I can meet you there. But I will never watch this and think it is a truly pleasing aesthetic form of basketball. I want to see it get inside. I want to see it kick out. I want to see it move around. I want to see some layups. I want to see some dunks. I want to see some post moves. I want to see some jump shots. I don't just want to see guys dribbling down, kicking it around the key, and jacking up threes. It will never, ever be pleasing to me. And the worst thing Toronto's doing right now is they're trying to play him at their own game. Guys, you've got big dudes that can play inside. Kawhi, you're a mid-range jump shooter. Get the ball inside. That's the way you beat them.
I agree with you. It's pretty boring sometimes, but that's why I don't even enjoy watching basketball that much, because I don't think there's any way it's going to change.
Look, it's the flavor of the week right now. All those things you described, Tucker, are all the 8 or 9 elements that make up basketball. And right now, all Steph Curry did is he just threw a whole new one in our face, essentially. I mean, think back to when the shot clock was brand new, or not even when the three-point line was new, because I'm an advocate of the four-point line. Screw it. If this is the way it's going to be, it's the way it's going to be. We're just going to make a 10th element to the game now when there was 9 prior. That's all. And that's why I just appreciate Steph Curry in that, he's the only guy capable of winning the MVP and the Most Improved award, if you really take Most Improved for technically what it is, and just like that, he's just a neat anomaly. I mean, it's...
But take Steph against Darth Vader from any era. Take him against Kobe. Take him against Jordan. Take him against Magic Johnson. Take him against Larry Bird. We can go on and on. He would never, ever stack up to these guys. Because all Steph can do is bomb threes. That's all he can do. He plays matador defense. He wins in big clutch moments. He needs guys like Durant to bail him out. He needs guys like Klay to bail him out. He is the greatest shooter that I've ever seen. You put him on a team like he's Steve Kerr on the Bulls, boy, have fun with that team. But that's it. He's a role player that somehow has become the MVP. It blows my mind that people act like he's as good as he is. I seriously think he's nowhere near the caliber of a Jordan or a Kobe. Not even close. Of
course. Those are way more complete players that are more greats than them or whatever. And I like Steph for what he is, but I mean, are we going to say the same thing about Dan Fouts or Dan Marino? I mean, just so happens they're both Dans that play quarterback, coincidentally. But seriously, in terms of what they did to the game, they just hucked it up there, and that changed a lot and pissed a lot of people off. And it's kind of getting worse now. I mean, for the past 10 years, it's turned into a full spread offense in the NFL typically, and because receivers can't get hit anymore. So I don't know. It's these new elements that are being introduced to the game that I feel like are going to, just like the other cards in the shoe, just going to get shuffled in eventually. It's all just it's just new stuff. It's like the new rules in golf, essentially. They're all just going to find their way in and balance themselves out. Remember back in basketball, the hand check rule about 14 years ago, how Dwayne Wade and company just walked their way right up the key to the finals? I mean, because everyone just slapping them to death. I mean, the Detroit Pistons were about to be a great dynasty, and they changed the physicality rules of basketball from one season to the next, and we never heard from them again.
I think it's a conspiracy by Stern against the Pistons and the Spurs because they didn't want to see a bunch of slow, grind-you-down, methodical half-court basketball. They wanted to see fast breaks, dunks, highlights, three-pointers, and 150 to 140-point games. Final games when the Spurs and Pistons are playing each other that are 81 to 75 is not cutting the mustard for them. And I swear, that's why they eliminated hand checks. That's why they made fouls anything. You even brush up against a guy, you breathe on a dude, and it's a foul now. It's all to stimulate scoring. That's all they're doing. And it's fine, I guess, except, again, you're taking the defense out of the game, and that's exciting to see really tough defender guys and really great offensive guys, almost like boxing, and see who the best is at it. You want to see the Floyds go up against the Tysons or whoever. You want to see this type of fight. You want to see the best punchers go up against the best defensive tacticians. And now it's just nothing but people throwing wild haymakers into outer space. That's all they're doing.
Yeah. No, it's boring. God forbid, even though it's honestly quite the opposite is trying to be the goal in mind. If you think about it, the greatest show on turf with back to your St. Louis team, the Rams, with Kurt Warner and company. So, so we apologize for the late recording, and we also want to give a nice shout out and thanks to Michigan Sports and Entertainment for being.
Oh, so big news! They're now Big Heads Media.
Oh, excuse me, Big Heads Media. I like that. Let me just write that down.
Yeah, a slight change.
Nice. Well, so long as we're still their golf podcast or they want to keep us around, that's enjoyable.
We are, and we have exciting news coming for next week on some other platforms we're going to be available on.
Such as
they think they're working on some deal with a radio station out in Toronto.
Really?
Yeah, so that should be cool.
Mm-hmm.
Nice. What's up, Toronto? We love you. Go Raps.
Hopefully that wasn't...
as if you were just gushing about it for like 16 minutes. I mean...
Hopefully that wasn't secret information, but apologies if it was.
It shouldn't be. Hey, according to the rules, so to speak, or whatever, I mean, aside from paying for all this music that I play at the start of each episode, and it's usually, guys, I don't even tell these guys what I'm going to play for music, unless it was the Masters. I just play whatever I'm feeling.
It's nice.
And this is a late recording. I had Gloria chambered for a while, so plus I had a really long weekend. I really didn't get to see much of the golf tournament or whatnot, but I mean, shucks, we saw Martin Keimer go out there and just, stiff upper lip, just freeze it up. Patrick Cantlay. That guy's smooth. I mean, this isn't his first victory, right? He hasn't won.
No, he won in 2017.
Okay, yeah. I mean, this guy's steady. I think he could be. I don't want to call him up and comer or anything stupid like that, but
I think he could be up there.
He showed some great flashes, man. He did well at Masters. He almost snuck in there and stole the Masters out from under Tiger and all the boys there right at the end. I feel like this has been a long time coming this year. He's been steadily in the mix week after week after week, so I'm not shocked that he won this.
He doesn't have any holes in his game. He really doesn't. I mean, he seems to be a complete player. I say, kind of like DJ and Brooks Koepka kind of did that too, where they just were like steady, airtight players who just kind of got like 0.01 shots better every month they played. And then next thing you know, it's just like, you're like, oh my God, his scoring average is under 70 just because they're like that crisp or whatever. So
also, Cantlay always looks real kind of grim and, stoic in a kind of tough guy way. But I like that he never seems too hot under the collar, nor that he ever gets too celebratory. He just seems real wired in and focused.
Yeah, he's like DJ, just never reacting to anything. What about
it's slightly more intense. DJ looks like he could just as happily be fishing on a boat. Like Cantlay looks like he's all in, trying to get it done all the time. But he never gets too high, never gets too low. He stays steadily grinding in that zone. I like that.
Yeah, did you guys...
Somebody out there in the internet world, please make a GIF or something for me of Dustin Johnson fishing, but he's looking off in the distance smiling, and the fishing rod he's got it backwards in his hands. He's just like...
And there's an upside-down jet ski floating in front of the boat. Make it happen, internet.
Zach, what were you about to say?
Did you guys catch Jordan Spieth's, how he did? He put on a clinic putting.
Wow. I didn't catch it. I did see Tiger start to surge, but I mean, it looked like Colonial was it was Colonial, right?
Yeah.
Presented by that's right. Excuse me. I saw a lot of guys starting to go low. I mean, Cantlay had a nice low round. I mean, a couple guys were pretty stuck in the water. Spieth being one of them, right?
Oh no! It was it's Muirfield Village, man. Colonial was last one. This is Muirfield Village, which is
the Memorial. God.
Yeah, no, it's Jack's.
Do you see how I was just click to agree with you?
Muirfield. I don't know how to say it right. Muirfield.
Muirfield.
There you go. That's it.
Like the John Muir Trail.
I guess. My grandma lived in Columbus. I know where the golf course is, and it's actually like the whole area of there right around there is called Upper Arlington, but that's pretty much where Jack grew up. The upper crust side of Columbus, where they've got the golf course. It's nice to be up there.
So the Memorial, Jack's tournament, which Tiger's won many times. We saw lots of great moments. I remember him and Jim Furyk in a 7-hole playoff, and it was pretty boring except for the very first hole where Furyk was in a greenside bunker and he flubbed his shot and it stayed in the bunker. And I think it was somebody with an accent doing the commentary, and he just went, "Oh, game over." And then Furyk proceeds to hole out for par. And then they tie holes 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 after that, and they win on the 7th. Tiger wins on the 7th hole. But that's it's a course that every time I play it, all the times I've been there on Tiger Woods on PlayStation, it was my least favorite course because the branches always seemed to be in the way. Like, I mean, it always looked to me to be like it wasn't terribly long. You got trees in the way. It's an old-fashioned shot maker's course or whatever. But I mean, hey, if this is what the pros like to do or what they are, like where was Bubba Watson? I didn't check, but something like that. What say you guys?
Well, I think it's one of these courses where you're right. It's not going to overwhelm you with length. It's not anything like a Bethpage or something. But it's all about if you miss, you're doomed. If you make the green, if you get the green in regulation, you got a legit shot from just about anywhere on that green of getting a score. But if you miss, your score easily goes to double bogey territory very quickly. And unless you're one of the top, 20 guys in the field, you're going to be punished every time you miss a fairway or a green. So Jack made it a good test. It's not the world's hardest course. Old guys can win on it is essentially what he did. He made it so the young and the old guys all got a shot. But the bottom line is you better not miss, and you especially better not miss around the greens, or you're doomed.
Well, like in terms of like being on board with certain camps or boats or whatever, I'm officially off the bomb and gouge boat. I used to be like, yeah, I love it. Who cares, whatever. Save for Brooks Koepka, and he's not exactly like just hitting it and seeing where it winds up. I mean, Brooks is accurate. Brooks hits the ball just fine. It's not necessarily working out for some, and and like Tiger, if you take the driver in his hand, so what? Then he's hitting an iron or a 3-wood. He's doing just fine. I mean, it's just like just keeping it in the fairway. So, I mean, grow the rough up. I'm actually over the bombing it thing now. I'm not saying like hurrah for the short hitters. I'm just saying no, hurrah for the tacticians. I mean, that's go out and play golf, play the elements, play the earth, play the course. What do you think, Zach?
Yeah, I agree with that. The bombing angle is starting to get a little bit old, although I don't see it changing because it's clearly giving these guys the best chances to make birdies and go low, even on these courses they're designing to have pretty high scoring. These guys like DJ and Rory are still managing to like destroy them on their good day.
Well, I think DJ, it's really, for as much as that we know about DJ, whether it's from his swagger all the way to like his swing mechanics or whatever, or his ball speeds, one of the things that he really shines on, if you look at it, and I'm sure somebody tweet me if I'm wrong or whatever, I don't give a crap, but I mean, according to the numbers, like, I think DJ just always wants to have a wedge in his hand of some kind. Like, He's just one of those guys where it's like he wants to be around 100 yards because that's just where he thrives. Like, and I really, since Chichi Rodriguez, nobody's really been one of those kind of players where they're just kind of like, well, I mean, the ball might spin less if it's in the rough, but 100 yards feels really good. It's just like, and I mean, just a DJ gets on that TrackMan he doesn't use Foresight also. He's just a TrackMan guy. He gets on that TrackMan and he dials shit in down to like 50 yards, 49. Like, he gets it down there. And
yeah, so he knows on the number.
No, I mean, a lot of guys do that, especially nowadays. But overall, that was usually a thing where most pro golfers were on the record saying, oh, yeah, I never want to be within 100 yards because I'm kind of guessing. I don't have a swing for it. I don't really have a thought for it. You're just kind of working around it. I don't believe in that. I like to think if I'm inside 50 yards, it's like, well, time to get extra creative because I really don't have a club or a swing for this. So you got to think of something. You got to think of something real quick or whatever.
I think it's fascinating that DJ just let Claude Harmon go as his swing coach. That just came out, about a day ago. He's still going to work a little bit with Butch Harmon before the big ones, but he let Claude Harmon, who was his day-to-day swing coach, whenever he needed somebody, he let him go. And the subtext, it's not too deep, you got to dig. It's that Claude's been working so much with Brooks Koepka, and I think that while Brooks and DJ are friends, I think there's surely a sense of maybe either DJ thinking Claude's giving him more time than he's given me and I want more focus, or maybe it's a competitive angle, like I want different coaching from someone that helps me strategize against Brooks versus being on the same team. But Dustin just went back to his high school swing coach out of nowhere. This happened right after Memorial, so I think that'll be fascinating to see if that helps or hurts Dustin to change course in the middle of a season like this. But again, I mean, we were talking before Bethpage. I picked him to win. I said him and Brooks were my two picks, and it came down to him and Brooks at the end, but he came up just short to Brooks. I think he's looking for any kind of an edge he can get going into the U.S. Open on Brooks because they're obviously, two of the punchiest guys in the majors right now for sure.
Absolutely. I mean, Shucks, anything else we want to talk about in terms of the memorial? I mean, do we want to roll into the... There are a couple things we want to talk about. Like, we can get into the Hank Haney news. Everyone's talking about it, but we can touch on it real quick. And we can talk about our RBC preview a little bit. And then we want to talk to Tucker about PK news, which, hashtag PK watch. I'm still being followed by him.
Yeah, everyone else is banned, for those not aware.
Oh, and also, for the record, maybe Zach and I should have our own dissertation off to the side, like a water cooler podcast or something, but our account got hacked. Zach didn't care. Oh my God, we had like a dumpster fire. And I'm
Hashtag
saying, like,
act on climate.
Dumpster on fire. You're like, that's funny. I'm like, now they're pushing it down the hill. Go get it. It's once they start once they started cursing people, saying like, if you don't like climate, then fuck you. Hashtag unfollow. I'm like, Zach.
Yeah, someone got the password, and then it was all act on climate. Firstly, I'll make it very clear, I don't really give a fuck about any of what's going on.
Okay, well, hey,
I have no opinion.
You need to be more clear, because I was about to say, this puts us in a real sensitive situation where it's like, as much as we want to lambast these people, it makes us look like we're against... It's like, oh, so you're for the climate falling apart. It's like, no, I'm for fuckheads stealing our keys and taking our cars for joyrides.
Well, man, it's like Julian Assange didn't hack the website. It was like Trump Assange here. We got the Trumpy leaks coming out from the back. These Trumpy leaks. Hey, you morons!
It all started from her saying, like, I'm going to be on the podcast soon talking about, like, clean air. And I'm just kind of like, I text Zach going, like, so we got a new staff member coming on the podcast and talk about
clean air solutions.
And then he's just like, I feel like Zach totally gave me the Heisman, just like stiff arm me right away. I'm like, I even texted him. I got the screenshots to prove it because the tweets are deleted, thank Christ. But I told Zach, I'm just like, all right, listen, if you're and your like new girlfriend are like drunk or something and you're just like farting around, I get it or whatever. But at least put a disclaimer out there, because she's starting to drop F-bombs and like putting hashtags in there where and like one of the like a couple of the tweets got like 3 or 4 likes and retweets within the first minute, and I'm just kind of like, whoa, our normal stuff doesn't get this, so I don't want people seeing this. This is kind of a bad version.
Yeah, we might be a new climate site.
No, well, God forbid. But then I saw Captain Kramer, thank you very much, he liked one of the tweets, and I'm just like, no, Will, no, don't like this stuff. It's not, this is propaganda. Yes, I know, it's a smart quote, but still, it's just, oh, man.
Hey, we're the resistance to the resistance over here.
Yeah, no, so we're back to golf and messing around.
Hey, you told me to roast you. I wasn't gonna, but I really thought about it. Like, oh my God. I was just sitting there the whole time looking at my girlfriend sitting on the couch going, it's like, should I care? It doesn't look like he cares. Should I care? This could be funny, but I'm starting to panic. He doesn't seem panicked. No, should I be panicked?
I'll throw one more memorial take out there. Tiger obviously spent 3 days kind of trying to find himself again after the PGA, but he surely did on Sunday, and it was exciting to see him yet again get real hot and make people believe he could close that tournament. And he didn't, but he went from -4 to legitimately making us believe down the back nine that he could put up a number that would be hard to touch. And I think he's warming up at the right time again, boys, and it's right before the next major. And I dare say at Pebble Beach, like we've said before, we can all dare to dream that Tiger could have another trophy by the end of that tournament. And the way he played at Memorial, it gives us hope again. And all Tiger fans should be loving life right now. This is a true renaissance, and it's continuing. I mean, PGA might have been a little burp in there, but I don't think any of us thought after winning the Masters that he was going to show up and truly win that. So, you know, yeah, and it's also the Bethpage is a different kind of course for him compared to Pebble, where he has so much psychic mojo. I think that's the biggest takeaway from Memorial this last weekend is Tiger's back, and he looks awesome, especially on Sundays. He's really bringing it right now, man.
When he turns it on, nobody turns it on better. I mean, when you get that focus or whatever, he's done it the most, and he still has those genes and that mojo, still within him. So let's talk RBC real quick. RBC Canadian Open, not to be confused with the RBC Heritage. And this is that tournament, as the fellas just informed me in the pre-show runner, not the same course, but the same tournament we might remember back about 18, 19 years ago when Tiger hit that ridiculous 6-iron over 200 yards over the water out of a bunker, and all the announcers just like, what the hell is this kid doing? Oh, bloody, hey, he pushed it or whatever. I mean, and Tiger's like, no, he's just going straight at it. And my favorite shot in golf. I know I wasn't there for the Saracen 4-wood at the Masters, but I haven't picked a favorite in the field yet. Zach, since this is the Canadian Open, take it away. What do you got for us?
So, since it's the Canadian Open, I'm just going all-out homer picks. So, my favorite to win, I gotta go 90-1 Corey Connors, because he's more or less a lock in Canada. That's my favorite, my 90-1.
Top Canadian songs right now to start playing them, just because I'm like, this is the Canadian Open. We should just have like a whole 45-minute section just for Zach here in the Canadian Open.
Yeah, how did you not have the Canadian anthem as the intro?
There we go. There we go.
I like it.
Speaking of going on, you like your heart. Go on, Zach.
Yeah, so Corey Connors, my favorite at 90-1, lock of the century. The upset, or the low-owned Canadian, I think, that could show up a little at 130-1 is Mac Hughes. Last year he was pretty dominant for a stretch of about 2-3 months, and then sort of just fell off the cliff, missing every single cut, but now he seems to be back on. You never know.
Okay. So
who are your Americans you're going to take and steal it from us?
Oh, sorry, we're doing a little of the Corey Hart there. Sorry.
Are you going to sing for us?
Negative. Oh, no, not quite yet, my man. So he might not be Italian or Canadian or whatever, but I really like Fratelli at 110-1. Something's singing to me about him. And shucks, I'm going to defer to Tucker, and I won't make a smart pick in terms of my favorite if Tucker has anything he wants to share.
Well, the way I always pick winners is in the PGA, since they don't seem to win back-to-back weeks very often. It's so rare. I always feel like the formula I'm starting to see is there's some relative unknown or somebody we didn't see coming wins one week, and then the next week it's like a guy that we totally could see coming who needs to have a big moment, kind of resurging. So last week Cantlay was obviously a surprise, right? And so before that we had Brooks, and we're going back to these type of guys. I would say now it's going to be one of the ones we would expect to see coming, but someone that we might not have seen coming recently. So I don't think Brooks is going to win it, even though he's in the field. I think DJ might be a safe pick again, but he did win back in Mexico. So again, I don't think he's quite the right pick. Rory would be a good pick right now, but again, he won at Players, so I'd say he's probably not the guy. When I'm looking at my people that would fit this right now, I think guys like Webb Simpson might be a good pick this week because he's won, but he hasn't won recently. I'd say Sergio Garcia would be a safe pick right now. Another guy that it's been a while, but he can turn it on at any point. I really think, though, as far as my guy this week, I'm going to pick Bubba Watson. Bubba's just been chilling on the periphery, right? He has not been closing in a while, but he can. He's won a ton of tournaments. He's gearing up for the major. This would be a classic Bubba week to win. Plus, this is the kind of course he can just overwhelm with his crazy style. He can. And I think he's one of those guys you never see coming, and then he sucker punches you with that lefty hook that he's got, and he surely throws a lefty hook. I like Bubba, man. I'm a fan too, but I'm gonna pick Bubba. He's my sleeper pick of the week, man. And if I'm gonna pick anybody else, I'll throw Kuchar out there. He's another guy. He's done well this year. Cooch is kind of due, right? And I like Webb Simpson. I don't know why, but Webb Simpson keeps coming to mind. Every time my son and I see Webb Simpson on TV, we go, Webb Simpson. So there you go. He's my Simpson pick of the week, man. He's my dark horse.
All right, well, listen, not that I was going to pick Bubba Watson. I love Bubba. At 36-1 as being a long shot, I'm not too sure. He's a little fringy there. But F you, I was taking Cooch at 19-1. I know I was going to pick it on the podcast, but I mean, Kuchar's turning into like better than Charles Howell III now, just in terms of just cashing the checks and winning the tournament. So, and Kuchar's at 19-1 on my model. I got Bubba at 36-1 here, and have Webb Simpson right in between them at 24-1. So, yeah, Kuchar at 19-1. I hate to say it feels like a steal, and everyone, if D'Annunzio has written his fantasy article or whatever, I'm not a fantasy golf player. I know a little bit about it, but that's like, you think we know a little bit about golf and making picks and like what we know or whatever. I think it has to be ratcheted up times 10 for fantasy golf. Like, you really need to know your course versus player matchups. You need to know stats and trending a lot more, and histories and things like that. So I'm sure Dan will get us a nice piece, or if he already has or hasn't.
We also don't advise you follow our picks, because I don't think we've gotten one right yet.
So, I believe you me. If somebody gets one of them right, we're gonna have a party. I mean,
a big celebration.
Remember when I tweeted about our power rankings? How we all picked Brooks as first, and I'm just kind of like, I'll have what she's having. It's just like, it's a no freaking brainer. Who we all think the number one golfer is in golf right
Brooks
now.
is doomed now. He might miss every single cut. The curse.
I keep puffing my chest out because I picked Spieth like 6 weeks ago at the Byron Nelson, and you guys all laughed at me. And then he's consistently getting better. He's not even winning, but I'm still doing the touchdown dance.
You picked him like four times, and I'm still like tipping the bucket of water on your head just a little bit more each time. I'm just like, no, just wait for it,
When he wins, it's gonna be "We Are the Champions" on Alexa. That's all I'm saying. I'm gonna be dancing around the living room like I won. Like,
If and when he wins next, it's well freaking deserved. I mean, the poor guy hasn't won in so long. Nobody's a bigger Jordan Spieth fan than me. I am just a big advocate of. I won't bring Tiger into this, but I mean, my whole problem with Spieth was the second he got real good, I was like, oh, we're going to kill him with attention, and he's not going to win, and we're going to either keep the same amount of attention on him or more, and it's just not going to be good. And once we're now, and I hate to say it, I think we've hit a point in his career now where we've broken him apart so much, not in a bad way or a mental way or like a physical way or literal way or metaphorical way or whatever, more so just in that, like, now we're starting to really realize what his problems are golfing, like why maybe we haven't figured out why he's not ball striking, but that was the whole key to his game was ball striking, and now that it's off, it's more than just like a hot or cold putter. I mean, because that's pretty much the difference between a winner and a loser every week is a hot or cold putter. So
I think Spieth is a real mental player, though, and I don't mean that as an insult, but when he's feeling it really well, he's kind of Superman. When he's not feeling it, he can't even swing. He's a knob or something. He can't even swing the club. And you see how much he talks to himself and Greller and the Fates and God and whoever. That dude talks all the time. He's like me out there. And I know I am a super basket case when I play golf. So I would say right now he's obviously still kind of finding himself again. But week by week, he's looking better and better and better, boys. And once that putter is as blazing as it is, I think he can make up for some wayward drives with that. That's for sure.
So Zach I like Kuchar with Fratelli. We got Tucker,
Corey Connors and Mac Hughes, all Canada.
That's right. Yeah, you're going all Canada. So.
Oh, before we move on, I could go with my Canadian fun fact of the week since it's themed with this week's event.
Okay, go for it.
This is also going to be like a mix with Jeopardy, since that's big in the news now. My fun fact is, do you know how many Canadians are in the field this week?
I'm going to guess 12.
12?
Oh, no, wait a minute. Are we doing this like who's closer? Like, should I say 13?
No, it's not who's closer. It's either you're spot on or I win.
This is Jeopardy, Holmes.
Now, hold on. Now, Bryson DeChambeau's Canadian-sounding name. I mean, that's does that count?
He's from Cali, bro.
DeChambeau.
Cali, bro.
You have to start your answer with what is.
From France, that's all.
Just on paper, when you look at his name, it's like he vacations in Breckenridge. I mean, look at he has a brother named Breckenridge. I mean,
that's it. Yeah, exactly. Brecken DeChambeau.
Okay, so you say 12. I say, and since I guess we're just getting closer, I'm gonna take the over. I'm gonna say 13.
25.
Woo!
I had a feeling it was a lot more than 12, but I didn't know how to pick. I was going to say 16 and be like, okay, now you're pushing it. But
is the OG Mike Weir in the field?
He is.
Mike Weir? All right, good. He's not going to win, but I love you, Mike. Go get him.
Yeah, wouldn't that be something if he won?
Is Graham Dillette in the field?
That's a good question. I think he might be.
Is he playing golf anymore?
I know the big names in it are Hadwin, Hughes, Connor, Nick Taylor. So I don't think that's in it, actually.
Taylor, I actually, I was looking at Taylor for a long shot. I kind of liked him a little bit. But
no, I knew Dillette's not in. He's recovering from injury still. I think he's out for a year.
Okay.
Graham's back is officially a problem for him, man. He kind of had the Tiger back, but he got the Tiger back in his 20s instead of in his late 30s.
Yeah.
Boy, I feel for him. I hope he can have a similar rebound, but
And he was
he doesn't
doing
have
well,
that Tiger
too.
Woods cheese to go get all those surgeries, dude. We'll see.
So that's the Canadian fun fact. I put a tweet out real quick, just to anyone following me, saying if you have any questions, I'll read them live, and I'll squeeze them in at the end if we can. I just got one from Nolan so far. It's not one that I think I've necessarily addressed, but it's a simple, easy one to address. So, anything else we want to talk about the RBC Canadian Open?
No, shall we move on to the Hank Haney drama?
Well,
free Hank Haney, free Hank.
Hashtag free Hank.
Poor Hank. I mean, it's one of those things where it's like, whether it's in or out of context. I mean, I feel bad for guys who just are making a joke and they're not good at making jokes, so to speak, or whatever, or they just don't realize the recording devices or what century we're in or what's going on around them, like their lack of situational awareness. Or maybe he was like Joe Namath, like drunk on the sideline saying to that reporter, "You're cute, I want to kiss you." Just like, Joe, you forget where you were? You have a problem. We need to admit you somewhere. I mean, like Pat O'Brien or something, where he's like
Brett Hull last night flipping off people at the Blues game while he's drunk on the sidelines.
Yes, so I'm glad. It seems you guys agree with the article I wrote on how people don't know how to take a joke in 2019, apparently.
I'll jump in. I've got some insight on this. I spoke with Ron Mintz, who we did feature on the podcast.
Shout out,
Ron
Ron.
Mintz at Ron Mintz Golf. You can follow him at Twitter. He's a good follow. I've been following him for years, actually.
Mintz is awesome, and Hank gave Mintz his break in the big time. Mintz was on his show every week for 4 years, man. So Mintz knows Hank at least that well. Mintz and I spoke today on the phone, and we spoke about the Hank situation for at least 20 minutes. So this is fresh Ron Mintz takes on this. He says, number one, Hank is not a jokester. He's not that funny of a guy. His co-host Steve is the one who's always trying to crack jokes to lighten up the mood because Hank's real serious. And part of the new coaching Hank's been getting from guys like Dan Patrick and other people who he has asked for advice is to be more hot-takey, be more silly and funny, do more jokes, and do more controversial subject matter. That's the Dan Patrick model that Dan's been trying to purport. Obviously, Hank can't pull it off like Patrick can. There's no doubt. However, Ron also said that Hank has never said a vulgar word in his presence on or off air, never said a racist word in his presence on or off air, never said a sexist word in his presence on or off air. And he does not believe that Hank is any of those things. He just thinks Hank is not a very funny guy who tried to crack a joke to lighten the mood, and it absolutely backfired tonally on him. Now, to Zach's point, I think that this culture right now is insanely snowflakeish, and you invoke the term in your piece. It's the pendulum is swung too far the other way. I'm a big fan of civil rights. I'm a big fan of people's voice being heard. I'm a big fan of not silencing people that have been silenced in the past. Women, you got every right to speak your minds. Go get them, ladies. Rock out. Minorities of any type, absolutely think you have the right to speak up. However, if the way that you speak up is to say, cut off the head of anybody who says anything we don't like, that sounds a lot like what white people used to do to you. And I think at the end of the day, if you swing it back too far on the pendulum, it's going to turn into a witch hunt, and the next people up on the chopping block, boys, are stand-up comics or anybody else who says anything in a sarcastic tone or an unfiltered tone. And that's going to penalize minorities and women as well. I feel like the lawyer in me says it's not about the white guy that gets hung out to dry for all this. It's about the precedent that it sets for the minority. That's what I see, is that it sets this precedent that somehow if you guys start speaking out in ways that are unseemly to the majority, that you will also be judged this way, and you'll probably get penalized a lot harder than Hank's little slap on the wrist is going to be.
Of course. That being said, I know the stand-up comics. The only thing I want to mention in that is I have an affinity for stand-up comedy in that I really appreciate its history and its chemistry and its science and what it represents for us as people and enjoyment. And I think we kind of have hit a tipping point though in stand-up comedy where your fans are still going to be your fans though. And if you turn out to be that controversial guy or whatever, then you know what? Those people who don't like you aren't buying your tickets. Maybe you don't get booked certain places, don't get certain deals or whatever, but still, thanks to the blessing of the internet or whatever, there's forums, there's communities, there's whole groups that are still like, yeah, we love you guys. I mean, for anyone out there who doesn't know about the Blue Collar Comedy Tour or whatever, it's just like, yeah, I'm aware of them. I know most of their jokes because it's been crammed in my face a lot. I don't necessarily find it funny, but there's so many people out there with checkbooks who are just pumping money into it just because it's like that's their speed or whatever. I mean, it applies to music, and I think comics know. They're as Zach said. I think and Tucker said it too. They kind of know they're on the front lines at least. That they know that they are not necessarily in the front trench. They're on that berm just ahead of the trench, like where Patton used to walk around, like getting shot at or whatever. But I think they kind of embrace it and thrive in that, so to speak. Just because, and I almost want to say, like, I could write the book on stand-up comedy. It's like, no, not how to do it. Just how as like, and Zach, I thought of a great question that I'll tell you off the air in terms of, like, what you should always be, like, our question to ask people in the very, very, I gotta write it down real quick. No, seriously. Because I said, like, you gotta have this, like, very good question at the very end that's, like, very unique that, like, lets the person kind of take the wheel. Because Bill Belichick, we all ask him the same questions and we get the same answers and we don't like it anymore. But it's like, yeah, but if you ask him about, like, Army Navy football, all of a sudden, like, his eyes will light up like an old Alzheimer's patient who just heard, like, American Patrol from 1939. It's like, dun-dun-dun-dun-dun-dun-dun. They just, like, sit up in the bed, and next thing you know, he's the Manchurian Candidate just animated telling you about stuff. So, sorry. Anyways, I think,
you know what, though? We gotta talk Hank real quick again. And I don't think I'm betraying Mince by saying this. So, Ron, love you, man. But I've heard stories, and I've heard stories from people that know Hank. I've heard stories online. Hank is kind of a severe cat. And I think that the severity in his personality is similar to a Belichick. He's kind of a hard-edged dude, and he's a cocky dude. And I think that that's the tone that people were offended by when he said what he said. It's the cocky, hard-edged, I know better because I've been there tone. And I think he's being penalized more for that than the words themselves. And most people online that have been critical of him, that's what I see time and again. It's not, oh, that's so racist that he said there's more than a few people with the name Lee. I mean, if anything, that's just, it's the tone, the dismissive kind of undertone of all of it. And I think Hank is dismissive of lots of things and lots of people, not just minorities, not just women. And I think, you know, Hank needs to know better because you said it, Jerry. Comedy, they're on the front lines of dismissing things or roasting things. Golf is all about being gentlemanly and, you know, ladylike and etiquette. You know, it's all part of the thing. You're supposed to be nice. And especially on a radio show that is sponsored by advertisers who are trying to impress people with gentility, I don't think he pulled that off in that remark. However, I don't think that the action was appropriate to completely fire him for this. I think they could have gone middle of the road and just, you know, talked to him and told him to be more kind and whatnot, and that probably would have been good enough. I'm sure Hank could have learned the lesson that way.
Yeah, so that's where we come in a little bit. We could say whatever we want, and that it's pretty funny that she's Lee the Sixth on the scoreboard.
Yeah, oh yeah, that's the irony's so thick you could choke on it. I love it.
And she won.
Zach did write a piece on it. I don't know. Is there anything else you want to add before we move on?
I guess one thing I'll add is that there's been like a few people have like come at us on Twitter being like, it's so misogynistic to make jokes about like these women and all this. And my whole point is maybe instead of just talking about Hank Haney saying something about the woman, we should actually follow the woman and like applaud this woman for dominating events, and these Korean women who are all named Lee, which is funny, all winning. And as a matter of fact, we're actually looking for what's helped is someone reached out to us who follows the female tour, and he said he might be able to write and cover all the events, which I think would be great to have someone.
That'd be cute. Nice.
Well, this is National Women's Golf Appreciation Day today. And I dare say, I don't watch every LPGA tournament, Hank. I'm like you in that regard, but I definitely follow the ladies. And I'm a big respecter of women's sport in general. I love women's tennis. I love women's golf. I love women's soccer. I even occasionally watch a WNBA game, although that's a little tough for me.
College basketball, even though the pace can be slow sometimes, it's actually a nail biter if you really think about it. Where it's just the final could be 26-24. It's just like, yeah, hang on. It's like watching two opponents who are perfect at each move, like Greco-Roman wrestling, where you have to wait for someone just to like slip up and blink, and then it's like that's your opening, and that's how you win. I mean,
I've had a tennis family. My mom was real good at tennis. We've always watched tennis, and I have to say I've always enjoyed the women's tennis as much as the men's. I think, especially for Americans, we're more intrigued by Serena and Venus than we are by most of these men from Europe or wherever. I think, women's sports are not horrible. Women's soccer is amazing. I mean, our women's soccer team over here in the U.S. is arguably been better than the men for a long time.
So one of the best teams in America, or like whether it's national or professional history, is the American women's soccer. Absolutely.
I just think golf, the chickens are coming home to roost, guys. Tiger was the start of this movement. We finally could start talking about the fact that black people were banned from playing at these clubs that he's winning at. And it offends these old stuffy white people in their southern ways. But this is the thing. It's coming home to roost. Tiger, people from other parts of the world, people that were not welcome before, are starting to dominate the sport. Women are starting to be considered not just viable, but as popular as men. Michelle Wie is a popular American athlete in golf, and others too. I think that's what it's coming down to, is that this is probably rankling the guys that held the keys to golf more than anybody. But I dare say, if women are offended by Hank's dismissive tone, that I can appreciate. However, he didn't say that women stunk at golf or had no business being in golf. He didn't say that Asians were second-class citizens or something. He didn't use racist verbiage. If he did that, I think we can all agree that that was out of bounds. But just making a stale joke that sounded, stuck up, that I think we should be able to forget.
For sure. You would have said the same thing about the men's tour if something like that comes up, and we always do make fun of things going on the men's tour.
For sure.
So, not to beat the dead horse, we're about to approach an hour here, and I want to get to something we alluded to earlier that is probably, we can stuff the 4-ball talk for another time. I really don't care. And Nolan, your question will not be ignored. I have answered it before, but I will tie it into the 4-ball talk when I caddied for the Wall Brothers. And I can just tell people, go to Google and look up Wall Brothers Golf, WALL. And it's, I didn't know anything about these guys. It's pretty GD amazing if you believe in G. And if you don't, he will D you. That being said, Tucker, we are on, speaking of some home fronts here and patent pacing in between the trenches, Tucker's our own patent here because we are in some turmoil here with one PK, Peter Kessler. Tucker, I'm a really good, I play a lot of volleyball and volleyball. I'm a killer setter. Here it comes. Go.
There must be some kind of way out of here. Peter Kessler to the thief. Peter Kessler, we talked about you on a former podcast. I'm saying your name, buddy. I'm saying it right now. I'm Beyonce. Say your name. I gave you a lot of credit the first time around, and I'm going to give you this much credit the second time around. I did not take on the Peter Kessler piece for From the Back Tees, which is dropping this week, because I wanted to pull a hit job on Peter Kessler. I didn't take it on because I thought Peter Kessler was a controversial figure. I didn't take it on for any other reason. I had heard things, but I wouldn't say I was even that aware of how controversial he was, guys. I just was fascinated by him. He's obviously a very enigmatic guy from back in the day from Golf Channel that was very, very good at what he did. He talked to some of the greatest golfers and greatest golf people on the planet.
He's a pioneer through and through, a consummate professional, and to like the nth degree. I mean, he's on some fronts, some would consider brilliant. I mean,
well, he's the Adam of Golf Channel. If this is the creation of all things in the universe, he was the first man that was on the very first TV show that Golf Channel ever put on the air. He's Adam.
Now, that being said,
but Adam got kicked out of the Garden of Eden because he tasted the knowledge of the fruit of good and evil, and then he started acting like a dickwad. So that happened too in the story. It wasn't just that Adam got to run the Garden. He also got kicked out and never got back in. And that's essentially what this piece became about. Peter and I had 90 minutes of conversation. When I first came on our podcast, I pretty much purported his version of things. I spoke some absolute truths that came out of his mouth that I said were true because I took him at his word. That was a bit foolish of me. I had multiple people listen to our From the Back Tees podcast that knew him from that time period, that were witnesses to things that happened in that time period, who got a hold of me and said, you are alleging things out loud that are not only untrue, but that are slanderous, not only about Peter Kessler's career, but about our careers and Arnold Palmer and other people you don't want to slander unbeknownst to you. I said, obviously, I'm an idiot, if anything. I just believed the guy based on what he said because he's so absolute about how he spoke these things. I wasn't trying to burn anyone with what I said. But specifically what was said to me by multiple people now, guys, was that, number one, Peter Kessler was not the main writer, director, and producer of all of the content on Golf Talk Live and Golf Academy Live and the other shows that he did. He was mainly just the figurehead. There were people writing this for him. There was a genius group of hundreds of people that did all this work to make him look as good as he did. Secondly, whether he says it or not, he's not the greatest broadcaster of all time in any medium. And that when he came in, it was not a natural thing, like he said, where he just already knew how to do it all and it all just worked out like it was just meant to be. He had a lot of help getting where he got, a lot of coaching, a lot of this. But specifically, he said that Arnold Palmer was drunk on the night of a show that essentially is why he says he got fired. And most people I speak to say that, yes, him making Arnold look bad on that particular show was indeed the straw that broke the camel's back that got him fired. They also vehemently deny that Arnold Palmer was drunk. So I had said on this past podcast that we did that according to Peter, he was drunk. Let me just say this. According to about 7 people I've spoken to now that were there, they say he was not drunk. So
okay,
Peter's the only person now who says Arnold Palmer was drunk.
Oh,
they say Peter made him look foolish on the show. We were talking about it, Jerry. It was about the Callaway ERC2 driver that Arnold was in the kind of hot water for supporting. He also brought up stuff about Arnold's recent being recently widowed and his wife Winnie passing on, and Arnold cried on the show. He did a lot of things that, it was like 2002-ish. He did a lot of things that made Arnold look not so great. Made him look vulnerable, made him look foolish, criticized him directly, kind of kept pressing him and needling him, even after Arnold emotionally denied that he was trying to support cheating or anything else that he was being affiliated with. But they also said that was not the only reason Peter Kessler got fired. He got fired because of a culture of toxic asshole behavior that had been throughout the time he was at Golf Channel. That he's the type of guy, just like he was with me, who when he meets me, he says, well, you know why we're doing this? You're my best friend, and I do anything for you, and I love you, and you're my best buddy. As soon as you stop giving him what he wants, he turns into Mr. Hyde. And they said everybody saw this side of him. He was maniacally mean to people. He would come after people. He was backstabby with people. And that all of this was building up on him through his time at Golf Channel. Arnold and others tried their best to work with it because they saw his talent and they definitely acknowledged what he did well. But it was this toxic narcissism, and those are the words used by every single person I've spoken to, that eventually got him fired. Now we jump forward to me calling him back and asking him some follow-up questions based on all of this feedback I got. And guys, I've got the recordings. I've sent them to Zach. I was incredibly kind. I did not ask him these questions trying to start a fight. I just said, I've heard from a number of people that Arnold Palmer wasn't drunk the night of that show.
Confirmed.
That you weren't as close to Arnold Palmer as you say you were. That Winnie Palmer did not tell you that you were the only person Arnold should trust when she passed on, and she didn't tell him that either. What do you say? Like, I didn't say it was a fact. I just said, what do you say? He gave me chippy responses, including things like, that's the stupidest question I've ever heard and stuff like that. But he kept it somewhat above the belt. The minute that we got done with that interview, guys, he was all over my DMs. He was cursing me. He was calling me every name you could think of. And it was just more and more emphatic. The more I tried to pour cold water on it, the more I tried to say peace and love. And, Pete, I'm not even trying to write a hatchet job on you, and I'm giving you all your links, and I'm trying to be fair and balanced and whatnot. The more he kept ratcheting it up.
You're getting.
And he started threatening violence, guys. He wasn't just cursing me. He was threatening violence. The
Confirmed.
words were break your neck. And then he went to Zach and did a similar routine where he said, I'm absolutely threatening you. I'm going to crack your skull open. Stuff like that.
Confirmed again.
And guess what? The dope still follows me. So, I mean, I'm proud of that still. Look, the only thing, I don't have any insight to this, but I remember when Tucker told us he was getting Peter Kessler, I remember I turned to Zach, and the equivalent was just kind of like, it'd be like if Tucker, like, we're all kids and we all live in a cabin, and Tucker's walking to the house with a beehive, like, hey guys, I found a beehive. And I'm just kind of like, I look at Zach and I'm just like, what do we have a beehive for? And you're just like, I don't know, so we can get honey. And I'm just kind of like, bringing it aside, I'm like, who the fuck said they wanted honey? Like, I'm just kind of like, I know what Peter Kessler is. This is not going to end well. And literally 10 days later, I'm like, Jesus, you guys are getting like bodily harm threats. I mean, I didn't think it would get out of hand that fast. Like, somebody got stabbed with a trident. I mean,
we'll get the page views though.
It's so crazy on Twitter. I keep getting screenshots, even though he blocked me and Zach. I've got moles that are sending me screenshots of all that he's saying about us. He's just getting more and more wild boy with his tweets. First, he told me that his lawyers at Goldman Sachs were going to sue me for all of the character damage and mental damage that is going to come from this, and he's going to ruin my life and my finances and ruin my family and my reputation. Then he says he's got Rudy Giuliani personally going to take this case. Hey, the Rude Dog show is coming after me, dude. I'm just saying, it just gets more and more wild boy. And I'm going to say this on this podcast, and I didn't put this in the piece, so Peter, you're welcome for not putting this in the piece. But every single person I've talked to, and obviously his tweets, make it clear that Peter Kessler is full-time on weed. Full-time.
Stay off
Pete,
the weed.
You love weed. You say it all over your Twitter page. I don't hate weed. But I will say this. Those that are perpetually stoned are paranoid, and they say wild boy stuff. I know. I've been on weed for years, you guys. I just got off this year. I've been on it for 24 years. You are obviously too high right now, Peter. Buddy, you haven't even read a word of this piece, and you've already decided that it's going to ruin your reputation. Bud, I have no desire to do any of that. If anything, Jerry, my biggest sin here was that I really didn't realize that I was bringing a hornet's nest into the room. I thought I was just bringing a cuddly little, honey badger or something. I had no idea what I was bringing into this room, dude. But it's too late now. It's too late. I'm not going to allow this guy to silence what I've done. It's over 5,000 words. I do think it's a pretty fair shake. And though I definitely didn't know what I was getting into, I've met some really cool people that worked with him through the process, and they're all going to be featured in future episodes. Michael Whalen, the former vice president and executive producer at Golf Channel, gave me exclusive interviews on this topic and his own life. This man has turned down interviews for 19 years, you guys. He has not done an interview in 19 years. We have a Michael Whalen exclusive coming out next, and others too. I got to give shouts out to Keith Hirschland, former producer of tournaments for Golf Channel, for going on the record. We got an interview with him coming out. Lee Siegel, former producer there. Thank you, Lee, for all of your help. Paul Farnsworth, another of these guys. All these guys have gotten in touch with me and have given us wonderful, priceless footage for all this. So thank you, all you guys, for your help. And I've made some legit friends and allies for us as well. So, Peter, in a roundabout way, you helped me out anyway, even though I'm going to be looking over my shoulder for you when I walk out in public.
He helped us out a long way, for sure.
I mean, that's what I said. Like, I mean, I was mostly impressed with just like, we got Peter Kessler. That's... why didn't we just shoot the fox out in the forest? Why do we want to bring it in the house and like try and treat it like a pet? That looks like a lot of fun, adorable, but I don't think this is going to really... I'm not an naysayer. I know enough about Peter Kessler that I just kind of looked at it just like, I just got like a shudder right away when I heard we got Peter Kessler. I'm just like, oh no, this is not going to end well. It's like I said it before. It's like the Matt Kuchar stuff. It's a car wreck, and then what happens in car wrecks? There are no winners ever. It's just...
Oh, I think we're winners.
I think in a way this is a win because I had people up front telling me, this is a war you're about to get into. Are you ready to get into a war? And I said, well, I'm not looking for a war. And they go, it doesn't matter if you're looking for it. He's going to wage one anyway. And I said, well, I'm a battle champ. I can take these blows,
True.
especially from blowhards like him. And again, because I kept my cool, because Zach kept his cool, because we didn't match his tone, I think we have won, not only because we've proven that bullies can be stood down, but also we've made legit friends out of this that have seen that though we may be a small website doing our thing, that we're legit journalists here. I did my due diligence, no matter what Pete says. I've done a ton of research on this, and I thought I was just going to write a fluffy little page-long puff piece on him, and it's turned into 5,000 words, 8 pages, all these interviews later.
More importantly, I feel like we speak the truth. Like, we were going to write what we thought was good on him, and then when things turn bad, we write what's bad on him. It is what it is. We say it how it is.
That is the definition of journalism. Well, I don't want to scoot us along any further, but I mean, Zach, do you have any thoughts in terms of, I mean, you were implicated in this skull-cracking, neck-snapping electronic mail behavior and threats that were thrown around?
No, the only thing I'm upset about is that he blocked me, because I was getting some really good content in the DMs.
He still doesn't block me, so I'll see to it. I mean, and I remember I was like in the trenches with you guys while you're getting blocked. I'm sitting here looking around like you guys are getting headshotted left and right. I'm just like,
you're just hiding.
Where's the sniper coming from? I'm just like, whoa! It's I look down at Nolan all the way down the trench. I'm like, it's happening! Oh shit, he got capped too. Just like.
I think the funniest part, though, is that he immediately after he blocked us put up a preemptive pinned tweet on his page that I saw on a screenshot saying, some website is about to print all of this slanderous, unprovable stuff about me and yada, yada, yada. But he wouldn't put our name on there. He just said some website. Guys, whenever you are truly trying to cover your ass, you say something bad's going to come out about me, but you don't show them where it's going to come from. The only reason somebody gets this ratcheted up and this defensive is if they've got something to hide, especially the way I came at him. I did not come at Peter looking to wage war. I didn't even come at him necessarily trying to get any kind of dirt on him. It all fell in my lap, and then he lumped it on. And everybody told me that was what was going to happen, and it did. So, Peter, you're proving everyone else right by behaving this way. If you want to show me that you're a good guy, I'm still here, man. If I'm truly your great friend who you do anything for, give me a call, man. I will take an apology.
Come on the podcast.
Yeah, just come on a podcast. Just give me a call and let's talk nicely and civilly with one another. I don't even need an apology.
Guys, you're waving the beehive around. Stop it. Just set it down. Just set it down. Just set it down.
Well, anyways, be looking for my new article, Breaking Bad with Peter Kessler, coming soon on From the Back Tees. Be on the lookout.
I swear to God, I'm so small potatoes here. You'd be like, hey, let's bring him on the podcast. We have Peter Kessler on the podcast. I'm going to introduce the show and shit and just disappear and be like, Skype crash, bye.
Yeah. Oh, it would be amazing.
None of us would get to talk for 2 hours. It would just be Peter on a constant monologue. But, have fun with that.
That'll get us hits. I get why this is nothing but good for us. And Zach, he'll sue you for all the stickers you're worth. You just watch out.
Yeah.
Look out. Rudy Giuliani's coming on with him, you guys. It's going to be fireworks, man.
And to quote Giuliani when he was on SNL, friggin' Giuliani! Oh, shucks. So, Tucker, what do you got coming up here in the near future? Where can people see you live, see you on the internet? What are you doing now?
Well, besides obviously writing for you guys, I am finally getting back into the studio and doing some studio recording for a couple new albums. I've got some stuff coming up this summer back in St. Louis, so be following my record label, Tantrum Niche Records, tantrumniche.com. Everything on there is free download. Everything is wonderful. Over 20 albums worth of free content there. My hashtags online, TDB Music, Tucker Dale Booth, TDB Music, and hashtag Rappers Don't Golf. That's all the golf stuff, including our From the Back Tees stuff. You're looking for that. And mainly, I would say I've got a lot of private stuff coming up music-wise, but a couple new albums on the horizon. My rap album, Sociopaths, a comedy, will be dropping by the end of the summer. And I got a new acoustic rock album called Zealots, which is also finally starting to get into production. So be on the lookout for both of those hashtags. Sociopaths album and Zealots will be trending very soon. But that's about it, you guys. Man, I definitely appreciate you having me on. Breaking Bad with Peter Kessler coming this Friday. You best be looking for it. You know I will be.
Zach, you sent a carrier pigeon my way. What you got?
So I got a question from our guy Mark, actually, who's our back-end guy for those who don't know.
Yeah, how do you pronounce his last name? I see it. It's like
Mark Rosansky.
Rosansky. Okay, it's not in front of me. Sorry, Mark. I know you got a cool last name.
Yeah, so when I play with golf with him here, I have a proficiency to lose the golf ball. So this question's directed at Jerry, although Tucker for sure could give an answer. And his question is, what's the most amount of golf balls you've witnessed a player lose in one round?
Well, spoiler, that player could be me, but I've lost a dozen golf balls in a round before. I've seen people lose a dozen. Like, for me, I'm a fairly accomplished golfer, but when you get out in you're playing like a 4-person scramble, and you got like 4 accomplished players or like 3 accomplished players and me all together, if I hit a slice off into the woods and everyone hits one down the fairway, I might not be so inclined to go look for the golf ball. Really, I might not be. I might just leave it and just go up the fairway and be like, I'm not holding anyone up. Screw it. I got dozens more of these at home. Well, case in point, I'm actually down to I think I only own 2 golf balls right now without having to go to my girlfriend's stash. So I'm getting a little too frivolous, but I would say I've seen up to 12 before.
Jeez.
And these are like bad hacks, just straight up busting out the dozens of Pro Vs that they just bought at the Resort Pro Shop, which those suckers are going for $5-6 a pop. I know Abandoned Crossings, they got these commemorative Pro Vs for their 71 years of doing Titleist balls or whatever, and they're going for like 2 3-pack sleeves for $34 or something. It's something. They're Titleist 71s, and they have like a nice American flag on it. I get it, but it's just like, I feel like if I pay that much for a golf ball, I can't use it. It has to go on the shelf or something. I mean,
I gotta say, I don't know if I've lost 12 in a round, but that's because by the time I've lost 10, I'm quitting on that round. I'm like a lot of these guys. I come in going, I'm gonna keep the same ball through the whole round, and that's gonna be the win, because that's all that I can really count on as a win, you guys. If I get one birdie in a round, I'm jumping up and down, throwing the tiger uppercut in the air. I mean, one.
Uppercut.
So,
nice. Love it.
Par is an uppercut in my world. Okay, so it's when you're playing like me. By the time I've reached 10 balls that are out of bounds or unfindable, I'm pretty much tail between my legs, and I'm walking around butthurt with everybody just walking around with my hands in my pockets. But I would say I've surely lost 10 when I go play with my boy. We'll blast a ball off into the woods and just drop another one and keep going, like Jerry talks about. I think it's what it is. You don't want to hold up the pace of play. You don't want to hold up the people behind you, unless it's serious, like we're playing for money, or I'm playing in a scramble tourney where it really matters. I'm not going to look for it. I'm just dropping and moving on. I'd say 10 though, 10 tops.
Usually I only carry 9 golf balls each time I go on an excursion, so I shouldn't lose more than that.
And what's your question from Nolan? Did you have one?
Yeah, I mean, I'm going to save it for next time we talk on the pod, because it's kind of related to the 4-ball, because, like I said, I caddied for one of the Wall brothers. I guess he's the youngest and most talented, and that kind of goes with my whole cliche of, Nolan's question, I'll tease it, but I'll answer it on the next pod, but Nolan's question, I'll find it here exactly, excuse me, was, get prepared, Jerry. It says, I want to know the path to PGA Tour caddy status. Is it a lot about who you know? And I would say, in a weird way, well, I'll just have to tie that into when I talk about me caddying for the Wall brothers and the 4-ball, because half that answer really is, it's all about which star you hitch your wagon to at the right place, right time. It's a big life choice. It's like interning, and then the rest is just, well, I'll be able to finish that question on the next pod, really. I mean, because I could bamf about the 4-ball and me caddying for these kids like for an hour. I mean, it's amazing. But we've gone over an hour. We don't have much else really to talk about. Zach, where can people find us? What's the best way to get in touch with us?
You could find us at From the Back Tees Twitter account by that name, and you could find us all on www.fromthebacktees.com. We have all our Twitters in the About Us page.
That is our headquarters. We got emails there. Things get forwarded to us. You can find me on Twitter at JerryLouLooper1. Haven't been on there too much lately. Been kind of busy. So, and Tucker, where did we find you on Twitter? I know you're pumping other stuff, but
I'm reachable at Tucker Dale Booth on Twitter and Instagram. You can also find me caddying for Peter Kessler at his weed clinic.
Coming to you at a course in Colorado.
Shout outs to Rudy Giuliani. I'll see you soon, Rude Dog.
Oh my God. Oh, that's too much. That's too much. All right, fellas. Well, we had a good time. We'll see you next time. Next time we do a podcast from the back tees. See you guys.
Peace out.